Call the Selectmen's meeting to order for December 20th, 2021 at 6:10.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Announcements. The public participation policy applies to all selectmen's meetings. A copy of it is on the back of each agenda, posted in this meeting room and on our website. Public hearing at 6:11 for East Alton Firemen Association donation.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Sylvia Leggett, and I'm the current and last president of the East Alton Fire Association. I'm joined by Lyle Paulson, who was the vice president of the association. And I think Lyle was back here whenever it was a month ago so that we can get on the agenda. But as we announced back then, we have voted to dissolve the association, and our membership, this was our 48th year. And but the last couple of years with COVID and everybody getting up in age, we decided it was time that we moved on. And it's kind of fitting that the first president of the association was Irving Roberts, and it was just about a year ago that Irving passed. But I think he would approve of what we're doing. And the association voted that 60% of our funds would go to the East Alton Meeting House, and 40% of our funds would go to the town of Alton in a special fund set up in the name of Irving and Jean Roberts. And we would like to stipulate that up to $2,000 a year would be used. And I think that's what Lil talked about before, but up to $2,000 would be available each year, and it would go through a trust fund that the town, one of the trust funds the town has. And I believe what we would be giving to you, to the town, would be somewhere in the excess of $20,000. So that's why we had to come before the board. But basically, that's what we'd like to do.
Okay.
And the reason we don't have an exact amount is that we kind of put the cart before the horse. We have to get approval from the State Department or the Attorney General's office to make this kind of a donation. But we also have a lawyer involved and so until our lawyer's fees are paid and all of our liabilities are taken care of, that's why we don't know do not know the exact amount.
Questions? No. I think this is good.
And I'm wondering if I could probably, I haven't spoken with our lawyer, but I'm assuming that probably to make it easier with the state, if we maybe could get a letter from the town stating your approval that you would accept the funds. I think we need something like that for the association.
Would agree with that.
Well, I believe we made a motion when this was first brought up to accept the funds, and that's why we scheduled a public hearing tonight to allow the public to peep. So the board has already accepted the gift. We just had to hold the public hearing and allow the public to speak on it.
Yeah, but I'm taking a consensus for the letter.
Well, we're all set.
With it, we already did.
I just asked for any public input and comments.
Any public opinion on it? Yes, come forward.
I'm all for it. I'm Tom.
You gotta come up to the mic and state your name.
My name's Tom Divney. I'm actually here representing the trust fund. I'm a trustee for the trust fund. And we had our meeting today, and one of the things we're discussing was we're just asking if you do this, to specify how the money is to be allocated. Because
Okay.
I'm new to this, but apparently West Alton
Okay.
dissolved and it's kind of a disaster.
All right. It's my understanding that there are two ways to do this. One was to go through the trustee of the trust funds and the other way was to go with the town treasurer in a different trust fund. I spoke to the chairman of this trust fund, and he wanted nothing to do with the East Alton monies. So in speaking with, because there was problems with West Alton Fire Association, apparently. But it was my understanding that Gene Stone is the current treasurer. It was explained to me that she has control of trust funds. Let's say money goes into whatever, but she has control of trust funds. The way it's done, that we have made several donations in the past, and basically, it's not just for people, it's not specifically for people on welfare. It's basically for any residents in need, and especially ones who don't qualify for welfare. But we would like to have it doled out up to $2,000 a year, maximum of $2,000 a year, be available until this fund in the name of Irving and Jean Roberts is depleted. And if it's $20,000, it obviously would last at least 10 years. But it was my understanding that it would not, seriously, the chairman was, he was not interested in the funds going through that trust fund. The mechanism that I was told of is if the request came into, let's say Stacy, in the past, it was Mary Jarvis. If the request came in for somebody that need, then they could approach the town treasurer to expend funds up until the $2,000 is reached in any given year. But as long as we're sure that the money is, in a trust fund that's not going to go into general town funds, and the mechanism is in place, that's what we want.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I was just going to mention that we should look at how the Heike Fund was set up and put it in that same category, because we have a line item in our budget for the Heike Fund, which it could be created, the Irving Roberts and Jean Roberts Fund. And 2,000 of that a year could be put into that until it is dissolved. I don't know if that was Ryan's going to say, but.
What I was just going to say is I had a conversation with the finance director before we went into this, and she had already been in conversations with Jean about an escrow fund, not a trust fund, an escrow fund handled through the treasurer, which is similar to what you're speaking of. But I can definitely compare that tomorrow with Laura in regards to how the Heike room is set up, the Heike fund.
We're good with it. We're good with it anyway, as long as everyone is in agreement with how we want it dispensed.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the only thing I was going to add was, and apparently this is one of the problems with the West Alton, is it was never described how to distribute the funds. And as a trustee, the only thing we would be interested in, no problem with administering the trust fund. It's just, we just have to know, is it going to be principal? Is it going to be interest? Is it going to be combination? Principal and interest, that needs to be spelled out.
Right.
And that's our only
And
concern.
actually, my last conversations, I apologize, were with Liz Dion. And the way it was explained to me was that if our donation was $22,000, and we were speaking specifically of the town treasurer having control of that, she puts it in a local fund that could bear interest, is what I was told. And our mechanism was that up to $2,000 a year could be taken from that fund. So there would start with $22,000 in principal. There should be a small amount of interest over the years, but eventually it's going to deplete itself, but it would last at least 10 years in our opinion. I mean, I don't care. I don't want to offend anybody, but it was my understanding that maybe it might be a cleaner route and an easier route to deal with the town treasurer than to deal with the trust funds. But
I think we can make it effective either way, but I know that wheels had already been set in motion in that direction with the treasurer, which is fine. And I am familiar with talking with Dave St. Sierra about the West Alton issues with not having a direction on how to expend.
That was kind of thrown on our lap.
so, but I would assume that maybe I can get some kind of correspondence so that they can move forward with the state.
Sure.
You're accepting the funds.
If the board's okay with it, I'll draft a letter
Yes.
and I'll also outline we're going to hang on to where the funds are going and things like that, of that nature. So
In the letter, I would feel that the letter should show the minutes of the meeting when we said we would accept it.
Okay.
All right,
All right.
anybody else like to speak on this? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. I
Hey,
thank you.
very much.
Thank you very much.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
You as well.
All right, public hearing, Town of Alton Highway Policy Proposal Amendments.
Do I need to speak on this?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if you want.
Yes.
Okay, so I know it's been a little while since the board's looked at these again, but these are the amendments to the town of Alton's highway policy that we came up with collectively, myself and the Public Works Director, in regards to the signage that we had put up, that the board had approved, and the votes and the public hearings that we held on weight limits and things of that nature. So what you see is the redactions under each section because the result of those meetings and hearings was that we were not going to put weight limits on the roads that were particularly mentioned, other than Bay Hill Road was what we were specifically dealing with. Also, you have the road closed during inclement weather sign that was approved as an addition up there. The main reason for this hearing and the change, other than the language changes, is there wasn't an enforcement section that we needed to straighten out. And based on the conversations with the board, we have a progressive fine schedule for any violations of the signage or the weight limits, starting with a $250 fine first offense, $500 second, and $1,000 for any third and subsequent offense for violations of that. And as you can see, we also, made sure that we had the exceptions for routine property deliveries and exceptions under other RSAs, not just utilities, but farm grain, feed, things like that. So
From the last time we met on this and we spoke with these were the clarifications we discussed.
absolutely.
Don't see a problem with them. I gotta open the public hearing. Any discussion? We got anything to say on it? Seeing none. All right. Make a motion, Paul?
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed amendments from the Highway Department for Alton for this would be for Bay Hill Road.
Second.
Doing both. Bay Hill and Wolf Road.
And Old Wolf Road, you want to do them separately or just do them together?
I think we do. I don't know if we can actually vote on the Old Wolfboro Road because that wasn't part of the public hearing.
Oh, right. So this
That
is
was a
just the Bay
separate
Hill.
issue. This is just the Bay Hill
Just Bay
changes.
Hill.
So I'll keep my motion the same. for Bay.
Yep.
Second.
I'll second it if it's Bay Hill.
Brock seconded. Discussion.
It's on the three subjects, right? The
Yes.
fine too.
Yes, it would be 9.2 E1
Yep.
all the way through to E2.
E2.
And the highlighted in yellow would be a discussion for a later meeting.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Public input, limited to 3 minutes. Nobody yell at us tonight. Okay, seeing none. Moving on to new business, incumbents. Highway Department.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to accept the Highway Department encumbrances for 2021. Quick Creek, $248.40. New Hampshire Correctional Institutes, $222, and Eastern Minerals, 200 tons of salt ordered on 12/14, an amount of $14,780.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Old business. Park and Recreation, 2022-24 milfoil bid recommendation.
Really, Chair.
I can open the con. Staying up a good price, ain't they? Yes.
Kelly, what was the amount? What's the increase amount from before?
So David Gould, who is the chairman of the Milfoil Committee, he estimated that it was about a 9% increase,
Mhm.
which was about 3% per year for the 3-year contract.
Thank you.
Yes,
But the way it reads is $13,940 is the base price plus another $688 per acre. Is that correct? That's the way I'm
yes,
understanding
at the 4-foot depth.
And so we really don't know what the sum amount will be. Depends on how many acres they do, correct?
Correct. And also there was an increase for this contract, or what the Milfoil Committee would like to do, because there's also the treatment of the Mill Pond and the Wentworth Pond, which is more. So in the past, it was 20 acres and now we're looking at 40 acres. And also we had news today from DES that the grant is approximately 40 to 50%.
40 to 50.
Oh,
Yes, of the match.
That's up.
It was 40% last year. And the estimate is 40 to 50% they're looking at. So they're still working on numbers, but that was positive news because in the past, it's been between 20 and 40%.
Yeah.
So there's a range there. So this is good news for the town.
I think they're also going to be working in the Mary Meeting River too,
Yes.
yes.
Right.
and the 2 Wentworth Pond.
Correct. And the priority is the lake. So whatever DES determines in the lake would be first, and then Mary Meeting River, and then 2 ponds.
Which we haven't done before.
Correct. The 2 ponds we haven't done before.
More discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the contract as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cal.
Thank you. Thank you.
Number 2, old business, Highway Department. Road Management Survey, 2021 funding highway budget. Yeah, we ain't a member.
What's that?
We ain't a member. of
Yeah,
the
I know.
planning Commission. Much as we could use it. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just to fill in a little bit about the last time when I was here, when we discussed this, and I apologize for any confusion. I'm very much familiar with this as a road surface management study versus I think last time when we spoke, I spoke about it being, which is also an asset management component with this. So I think we talked about a little bit of both. So I clear up any confusion, but the board had asked me to put this out to bid and looking at it. When I went back to start to research the vendors as well as you also asked me to look into the whether, and I had mentioned I'd reach out to the Lakes Region Planning Commission relative to whether or not they could perform that type of service for us as well, whether we're a member or non-member. And as you saw in my write-up, of course, if we're a member, they can do that and what the amount would be for them to perform that service. If we weren't a selected candidate for that survey, they pick, I think, one town to do that annually, one member annually to do that at no fee. So that situation there. I also reached out to find out, because when I reached back out to the folks there at Public Works One, who does the survey portion of this for the iWork software, which we currently already have in the code enforcement office. And we were going to piggyback on for Public Works to do our asset management and also our Public Works work orders, was that it's proprietary relative to when they go out and do their capture of data. It can only be utilized under the iWork software. It does not work with other software. So when I reached out to find out, for an example, with StreetScan, who is another company that does this same type of survey, which is both photographic and also, on the surface itself, they inform me the same information with their software. So generally what they've done is they've partnered up with a work order program to exclusively supply their data and language that they do when they capture this data for individual software. And StreetScan does in fact have software to do Public Works work orders as well as asset management as well. Unfortunately, from what I can see, well, fortunately, it's a great program. Don't get me wrong. I've looked into it, spent a little bit of time looking at it, but it's very, very costly. The iWork system, since we already have it in place, offers it to us at a little bit more feasible, fee for us to be able to do that annually. There's no doubt, I think when you assess all the different components that are involved here, it comes down to, if you have enough money, you can, get it's a Cadillac, and then, you can get a Chevrolet or whatever else. So I was trying to find something that would kind of get us off the ground here.
This is only for the paved roads.
This would do just the paved roads. Yep.
Staff.
So with that being proprietary, it would be very difficult for us we could certainly write an RFP for it. Although, we would have to most likely write the RFP for not only the survey, but also for the software in order to navigate it and also do asset management and work order. In my opinion, it's great to have the survey and the data so that you can use it for planning purposes for the future, which is really, a core component in this situation. But to use it to the fullest extent, I think to have it be able to be incorporated into the work order and asset management software, you're getting a little bit better bang for your buck overall, as far as what you're going to do for performance and how you're going to get reports out of it, how you're going to be able to use that for future forecasting. That's the only reason why I've made the recommendation for the board to consider moving forward and making a waiver of the purchasing policy.
You said this will match up to our software?
We currently have iWork in the code enforcement, and I have in the budget for 2022 for us to add that as well in Public Works. And, Courtney has been, and myself, we've kind of worked together a little bit on looking at avenues to potentially pay for that. And Courtney actually has been working on that on the asset management side of things. And potentially we may be able to have that software paid through a grant, but we're still researching that to find out if that can happen. So, because the software can be inclusive to be able to add in and be able to handle, water part of it as well. This data that's captured, if in fact there is curb stops or other things that are actually in the road surface itself, that can be captured as well as signs and those types of things. So, so that can help start to marry up with, she's already collected some data as well within her own program that she has. We've also talked about being able to, transfer that data that she has collected already in I think it's a Google's program, Google Maps program, to be able to hopefully be able to incorporate that over into this as well. I have talked with them a little bit about that, and they seem to think that that would be certainly attainable to do that.
More discussion.
The only thing is that what you had explained when you talked about this once before, that if this was terminated, we still have a backup system of getting all that data
Yes.
back, and this would be the same.
Right. So there is a component in there that we would be able to download and be able to have that data. We'd basically just have the data, but we wouldn't be able to do, a lot of different
What we
things,
need.
the functionality of it.
Right.
So it is a cloud-based program, so that, we can utilize it that way. We don't have it on our server here, which in today's world seems to work actually a little bit better. Used to be that we were very concerned about having it all on our own servers and all on our own computers, and actually functionality wise and everything, it seems to work better having it in the cloud.
More questions? We'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion that we move with the 19,200 for the iWorks DPW software.
Second.
Chairman,
Yes.
motion should state that it should be encumbered funds from 2021 highway.
Yes.
And have it encumbered from 2021 funds from highway.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Next, we get the fund
Thank
jumbo
you.
warrant articles again. Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Yes. Start with Article 11. Town operating budget. The town raise and appropriate as an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately. The amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant or as amended by the vote of the first session for the purpose set forth therein totaling $8,691,586. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $8,515,043, which is the same as last year, with the exception of the water budget, which with certain adjustments required by previous action of the Board of Selectmen or by law. The governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40:13, 10, and 16. Take up the issue of a revised operating budget only. This article does not include special or individual articles addressed. Discussion.
Well, my only concern, Mr. Chairman, is the default budget.
What's the matter with it?
Well, we haven't seen it. We've had problems with this in the past, especially at the deliberative session. It was brought up that certain things were in there that shouldn't be brought in for 3 years, I believe. Is that budget exactly the same as last year's?
No,
No.
no. So I have a breakdown. We went through the last year's budget, each budget. And what we did is we pulled out any one-time purchases. There is no COLA or merit carried over. Contractual agreements we've carried forward. And systematically went through each line. And there was meetings with the department heads prior to that. And then Laura and I just had a meeting, the finance director, to go back over it one final last time before this meeting.
But the health insurance is the same as it was last year in the default budget, correct?
No.
The only way it could be increased, it has to be voted as a 3-year contract, not a yearly contract. And I think the health insurance we do on a yearly
Health
contract.
insurance has to stay the same.
Let me just verify. Because one of the things that we had to discuss in the benefits line, and I just want to make sure I'm quoting this right, is because New Hampshire retirement went up. And that one we had to adjust to make sure. So no, that's the, no, health and dental did go, there was an increase in health
See,
and dental, so I can go back.
Wasn't this year's insurance and health and dental lower than last year's anyways, but it still would be a contract. And it's like the solid waste contract, transportation costs. That wasn't voted on as a 3-year contract. I think that's only a yearly contract. And so yearly contracts can't be increased unless they're voted on like a 3-year package or a 4-year package. I think if I remember right, that being
Increase,
said
but you
last
can
year.
keep them in there as the same as the year.
The same
before.
amount.
Same as the year before.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can't put them in as.
And that's where the biggest, and that's where most of it came from last year, was the solid waste contract, the health insurance contract. Retirement system, I believe does not fall underneath that because that is a tax put onto us by the state of New Hampshire.
I'm just looking at the MS explanations. So that was increased under the contractual agreements, but I will go back and make sure that, find out about whether or not there is any provision in that contract moving forward, or like you said, if it's a 1-year lapsing contract, then we'll reduce it back down. What I can do also, if you'd like, so I'm looking at the default right now with the subtractions or additions in an individual line. I can produce that for the board too as well next meeting, and then that way you folks can have it right in front of you to look at. Okay.
That'd be great.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
That'd be good.
So we'll go ahead and do that.
Are we tabling 11 again?
Gonna have to.
After the table.
Okay.
I make a motion to table it, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Article 12.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend we do the same thing with Article 12, because that's going to have insurance in it that the water department purchases through the town of Alton. And just to make double check on any contractual agreements in there.
This one, Mr. Chairman, just to let you know, there's no changes in health or dental on water. There was only a subtraction for one-time purchase on a computer. And there were two subtractions under the water new well loan was reduced by $320, and the water truck, the lease of the water truck, the payment went down with the new truck. So there was a reduction of $987 there.
Any-
Other than that, it's the same as,
The chemicals and everything, they're on a yearly contract. Was that a yearly contract or a multi-contract?
yep. It's a yearly based on,
Okay, is there any increase this year to the contract though, from last year?
No,
Okay.
but I bring that up just in case you want to
I'll
vote.
withdraw my motion then, Mr. Chairman, if the town administrator feels that it's the right default budget.
Okay. Article 12, Waterworks operating budget, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $520,072 for the operation and maintenance of the water distribution system for the ensuing year. Said sum is to be offset by user fees. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $468,735, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous action of the town or by law. Discussion. Being none, I'll make a recommendation that we approve the 520,72 for the Waterworks operating budget.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. On to 15, Fire Department Equipment Capital Reserve Fund clarification. See if the town will vote to clarify the purpose of the Fire Department Equipment Capital Reserve Fund, previously referred to as the Fire Truck Fund, established in 73, as being used for the purchase of all types of fire department apparatus, equipment, and apparatus. Equipment used by fire employees in the operations of all apparatus at emergency scenes and repairs of apparatus and equipment. Further, to name the Board of Selectmen as agents to expend.
That sounds better.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 16, Fire Department Equipment Capital Reserve Fund, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $450,000 to be added to the Fire Department Equipment Capital Reserve Fund as previously established in 1973, majority vote required.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Article 36. See if the town will vote to establish an environmental capital reserve fund under the provisions of RSA 35:1, comma. Purpose to assist any town department with unanticipated expense concerning town properties needing work in order to be in compliance with DES and EPA regulations, or for the protection of the public health, welfare, and safety. These funds may be used for emergency repairs such as drainage controls, contamination concerns, preventive measures, engineering, grant matching funds, grant application expenses, and other related items associated with natural water quality, such as contamination of wetlands, phosphorus, and other nutrient pollutions, cyanobacteria, and allergy booms, or septic system failures. Further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 to be placed into this fund and name the Board of Selectmen as agents to expend.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
That sounds good. cut it down somewhat.
Mhm.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right?
Aye. 37, to rescind warrant Article 41 in 2008. Shall the town vote to rescind warrant Article 41 approved on the March 11th, 2008 ballot because it does not allow for lawful meetings such as site visits and site walks used by many town boards in the regular conduct of their business, and further to replace it with the following language that complies with existing New Hampshire law. Shall the town vote in order to promote openness in the conduct of public business that all town proceedings as defined in RSA 91-A, except in the event of emergency circumstances shall be open and accessible to the public at all times in accordance with RSA 91-A. Period.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
If that was the case, that we can't do sidewalks, we ought to be telling the other boards because we do a lot of sidewalks. That's it. Done except for one now, all right? Good. Selectmen's reports.
Chairman had a meeting on the New Hampshire Route 11 corridor up in Guilford 2 weeks ago. Next meeting will be in February. Discussion was ensued around intersections, slopes and approaches. Also to see what the actual state owns up through there, whether it's an easement actually that they have the right to pass, repass instead of a actually owned right away. That's the other thing that's going to be defined. Under road drainage from the town line in Guilford to Elacoya, of how much land is there for underground drainage and stuff like that, and whether or not it could be widened because they don't know if they can get the slopes. Other than that, that's all I have to report, sir.
Oh,
Nothing at this time.
nothing, town administrator.
I just have one thing for you this evening. So I had a meeting the other day with Public Works Director and the Water Department Superintendent, and part of the discussion is some new grants keep funneling out, especially related to COVID and other things coming out. The terms keep changing. And right now, there is the opportunity for an asset management grants up to $100,000 with no match. And there's also sustainability programs up to 50 grand with no match. And the water superintendent would like the permission for the water department to pursue these grants at this time. And then upon approval, obviously grant contracts would come back to the board for signatures.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Go for it.
That's all I have
That's it.
for TA report.
Approval of minutes, November 10th, 2021.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the minutes of November 10th, 21.
Second. Sorry.
All those in favor?
All right.
November 17th, 2021.
So move, Mr. Chairman, to approve.
Second.
All right.
On public, November 17th, 2021. Lost it. Where'd it go?
Chairman, make a motion to approve the November 17th non-public session minutes to not divulge number 1 and to release number 2.
Number 1. Oh, yeah, okay. I'll second it.
Those in favor?
Aye.
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 consent agenda.
We're going to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented on December 20th, 2021, number 1 and number 2.
All in favor? All right. Discretionary appointments, public input number 2, 5 minutes. Oh, you just waited for 2 more extra minutes, huh?
I wish you all a Merry Christmas.
Wait, please, sing it.
Just a couple of things. I'd like to compliment town administrator on innovative ways that the operating budget was changed and the acceptance by the Board of Selectmen and changing that and reducing it for the taxpayers. Also, I'd like to thank the Board of Selectmen to accept the recommendation of the Public Works Director in stepping forward in the electronic data information that we all need. Bob would love to see. And I think that's, innovative way. That's what it's all about. That's what GIS and all that whole programming is all about. In order to see what you actually have for assets. And what I think is going to bother anybody that's staying with the board, once it comes out to dollar figures of actually what we've got out there, might even scare you. So that's all part of the infrastructure play. And it'd be great to see it in black and white.
Yeah, we should have a print of it all.
Awesome. But again, thank you all. And I wish you all have a great Christmas.
You too.
Merry
You as well,
Christmas.
Ken.
Same to you.
All right. Anybody else? Seeing none, I will move to go into non-pub. Under RSA 91-A:3, number 2, A, C, and E.
Second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
6:58.